Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is Friday, yeah, January 20th. Nice rebound in the market today. NASDAQ pretty much erased the whole week's decline, and it closed higher on a weekly basis. So that was good. We had strong moves in Netflix. We had strong moves in Tesla. It's good to see that NASDAQ bouncing back. And I think I mentioned that as the dollar weakens, that is going to be a beneficial thing for U.S. tech stocks. Dow bounced, but it didn't recover as much as NASDAQ and S&P. Probably about 2/3 to 3/4 of the decline for the week, so that was pretty good. Yesterday, if you're looking at the flows, we lost. That was a negative flow, and I think I spoke about that. I just kind of speculated because the market was down so much yesterday. I said in the video, we probably had a drain. And we did. We had an 11.6 billion drain. You want to know, though, what's interesting? I mean, the drains this month. Remember, I told you we got up to a point just before that January 15th. We got up to a point of, we were like 63 billion above the December tax drain. So like we got to where we were on December 14th, before that big tax drain hit, and then we added an additional 63 billion, but now we're only back to 5 billion above that level. So, you know, the pool filled up, everything that was sucked out, we added more water in the pool, and now the water was kind of drained back down to the level, you know, before we added that additional amount. So it's still a net addition of water. We still, let's put it this way, we still recovered the water from the December tax drain, and we're kind of like even Steven, you know, even level for January. One thing I like, and I talked about this yesterday, and I checked it out again, because, you know, if you focus on these day-to-day flows, as I've been doing with you guys, maybe just to put some content and some information out there, you get the same kind of micro focus, the kind of stuff I always talk against, and the kind of stuff I always advise against. You don't want to get into that pattern of this micro focus day to day and ascribing every little move, even though there's very strong correlation and it's very logical what's going on. But you got to step back, and you got to train yourself to step back all the time. Otherwise, you get into this micro focus, and it's like that analogy I used last week with these zombie people who are on the beach trying to figure out if the tide is coming up, because they're looking at the exact line of where the water level hits, and they're, you know, it was a little bit more this time, but it was a little bit less this time. So they're never really quite sure, because one minute it could look like the tide is coming up, the next minute it could look like the tide is not coming up. But if you understand tides and you step back in the big picture, and you know, like every 6 hours the tide changes, then you know when it's that time of the day, or when it's moving towards that time of the day that's going to be high tide. You don't have to focus on that little line of where the edge of the water hits on the sand. You know it's coming up, and when that period of time is over, you know the tide's going to go back out. So what am I trying to say here? What I'm saying is that, and I talked about this yesterday, in order to get away from that micro focus on daily flows and correlating them to what's going on in the market, and I do think there's value in that, because it's also teaching you and it's training you to see the correlation and to keep that in your head. But yesterday I started talking about the leading flows. That's the spending that the government does before taxes, right? The government has to spend first before it can tax, right? You can't drain the swimming pool until you fill it up first. This is what people don't understand. People think the government has to tax first. That's like saying you got to drain the pool. The swimming pool contractor came over, dug a big hole in the backyard, poured the concrete, put up the diving board, And then you say, well, now we got to drain the pool. Well, you can't drain the pool. You got to fill it up first. So the government has to spend first to put the dollars out there. Then it can collect taxes. So when I talk about the leading spending flows, that's the daily spending that's going out. And I want to see that on an upward trajectory. And it is absolutely on an upward trajectory. We're already this month 18% higher than we were at the same time last month in December 2022. And I'll go back to what I was saying that last year, that we're going to see a very significant increase, acceleration in the spending flows. And what I said yesterday is that's the pipe, that's the flow of water coming out of the pipe. Somebody said yesterday that I was wrong on everything because we've been in a bear market the whole time. But if you go back to my December 2021 videos, if you've been following me for that long, and by the way, folks, please like and subscribe my videos. It helps a lot for the YouTube algorithm, and it's another way to help me to grow the channel. So please like and subscribe. I really appreciate when you do that. You know, I don't remind you every day. When I look at other people's videos, it's like the first thing they say to viewers is like, if you like it, please like and subscribe. I'm asking you right now to please like and subscribe the videos. So if you go back to my videos in December 2021, I said a big drop in the fiscal support is coming. And I was saying that the whole time. Now, did I say, okay, you got to go short? I didn't say you got to go short because I knew we would come to a point where it would stabilize. And again, if I have to explain this one more time, I will. We've been now 2020, 2021, 2022, this year for sure. Government spending around 7 trillion actually in 2020 and 2021. I think it was more than 7, slightly more than 7. 7 trillion a year and running deficits in the trillions. I said, for me personally, I can't get bearish with that kind of fiscal. I just can't. Like, does that mean I don't see a correction coming? No. I said we're going to have a massive slowdown in the fiscal, but it's going to go from like, what, a 2.9 trillion deficit to a 1 point something trillion. You know, it's huge. And I've been saying that. That's like taking away almost 2 trillion from the balances, and it reflected in every single data statistic. But a trillion, think of it, $1 trillion deficit, like before here's something to think about. I'll give you some perspective. Before the financial crash in 2007, 2009, annual government spending was like 2.7 trillion. 2.7 trillion. I mean, we're like triple that. And during the Trump presidency, it was up to like 4 point something trillion. Now it's like 6, 7 trillion. So why am I going to be bearish? Because everybody's freaking out about monetary policy? Sorry, I don't climb on board that train. That's just not what I do. And I'm going to be proven right on this. And I said that the only thing that would change my view is some kind of really significant, sizable reduction in those leading spending flows. And that could happen with the debt ceiling. But I keep saying we're okay until June. You know, Yellen now is using extraordinary measures, which means like she's kind of raiding government pension funds to make payments, but they'll just put the money back once they raise the debt ceiling. The government has like 400 billion balance in its TGA. We're going to get tax receipts coming in March and coming in April. So they're going to string it along till June. It's after that we got to watch out. And I'm really saying it's in the second half of this year going into next year. We got a very virulent fiscal hawk caucus in the House, the Freedom Caucus. All they want to do, and they're the ones who forced 15 votes until McCarthy got appointed Speaker. And McCarthy had to acquiesce and cave in and, go down on his knees to these guys to basically promise everything that they want. And their whole entire, dogma, their whole entire belief system is about cutting government spending. That's the only thing they believe in, smaller government. And they have enormous power in the House. They're basically dictating fiscal policy. So, frankly, that makes me a little bit concerned. Like, I'm not a political analyst and I don't know how this is going to play out, but that does make me concerned. Not for the moment, but for the second half of this year going into 2024. And then it's going to make 2024 a really interesting year because why? Presidential election. And if Trump gets nominated and we're in a deep recession because these Freedom Caucus guys forced austerity down on the economy, then Trump is going to get elected. Like, you could make that call very, very easily. If he's nominated, which I think that's a high possibility, and the economy is going down the tubes because these guys, they took a hatchet to spending, then Trump's going to get elected. Anyway, I'm veering off into a political area now. Anyway, it's Friday, folks. What happened? A lot of you stopped signing up for my email list. Just send me an email at mnorman@pitbulleconomics.com. It's here in the description. Enjoy the weekend. Bye.